I was reading Time magazine a lot. Why I identified myself with Republicans, I'll never know. And so then Eisenhower ran, and I voted for him. 52. By the time he ran again in 56, I was very impressed with what I had read about Adlai Stevenson. And I became more interested in the Taft-Hartley bill was a vicious bill against labor, and I don't know why that didn't sway me to vote for Eisenhower the first time. I've often wondered about that. But I was not as dedicated to politics at that time. I was more interested in my career, my job, where I was going. Part of my move back to the Democratic Party and liberal politics was the terrible right-wing, you didn't call them right-wing, but the Republicans that I met in Pittsburgh and lived with. I lived in this Amber Club, which was really a kind of an upscale club where so many people came from Eastern schools, had a lot of money, had their lives pretty much directed by inherited wealth, and I couldn't identify with them. I remember having a huge argument with Jerry Moore one time, who inherited the Moore pump business from his father. And I really caused a big argument in the club. I really got everybody upset. I stood up yelling because I had worked in factories. I had worked in a lot of factories. In 1942, I worked in a factory that you had to join the UAW, United Auto Workers. Again in 46, I had a job in 1949. I worked in a factory. I had to belong to the union. And I worked in a plant where we had an assembly line. And we were at dinner one night, and Jerry Moore said, well, one of these cars are no good. He says, you know, these guys sitting around on the assembly line, these guys, all they want to do is make more money. And I went nuts because I had worked on an assembly line, and I will tell you something. You were allowed 10 minutes to go to the bathroom, and if you come back late, boy, that guy came up to me and says, mister, you're going to wet your pants if you don't come back in the allotted time. You worked, and you worked hard. Hot, sweaty. You smelled like hell when you got home, when you got out of there. So I identified with labor, and I still do.